In recent times, Zamfara State in northern Nigeria has been plagued by incessant attacks and killings. Fulani herdsmen have reportedly carried out vicious attacks against local farmers. These attacks have led to heavy loss of lives and the displacement of persons. Efforts by the state and federal government to contain these security challenges have proved ineffective. What can be done? Well, joining me is a political analyst, Ihechukwu Ibeji. Ihechukwu, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So you obviously have heard about these killings. It's been trending on social media. Apparently, I had to screen grab tweets because it's trending on social media. Yeah. On Twitter, I have a series of tweets. Somebody here said, it's called empathy. I have never been to Zamfara. I have no relations there. I, however, share in their grief, the same way I share in the grief of innocent people being killed in Zamfara. Now, just for those who do not know, this has happened for and spanned through almost 2 years. It's a recurrent. Yeah. And of course, some guy here says, we need urgent attention in Zamfara. These are lives. And he was tagging the president, the vice president, saying, you need to treat this with urgency. How can we let a state degenerate so far? Every single week, there is a record of some killings or some maiming in Zamfara State. And one would wonder, 2 years, it's not like we're fighting Boko Haram. We're fighting a group of bandits. What is the security agency doing there? The one that shocks me the most is the fact that the governor is trying to get local charmers to be part of this. I mean, I'm just wondering, does that mean that our security agencies have failed?
The signal the governor is giving us is helplessness. Quite frankly, you know, look, as sometime in December 2016, reports came out that bandits attacked a village called Bindin in Zamfara. And killed about 36 gold miners and then injured about 40. And then sometime again last year, we heard something about rustlers. This time around, they said cattle rustlers. And this time around, the number given was 12. In the space of 2 years, Zamfara has become as volatile and as dangerous as the other Boko Haram states. And the point in question here is that people have not really taken note of how bad or how it has deteriorated to this point. You get what I'm trying to say? So the focus has been on Boko Haram, and there has not been much said about Zamfara. But guess what? Zamfara is becoming a killing zone. Now, what has been happening is that at some point in time, they said the military were deployed in there, and they quelled it, or so to say. And then reports came out again that the same bandits carried out reprisal attacks because the military came to, attack them. And each time these attacks are happening, there is no word of security being around to forestall, to push back.
And I'm not in any way trying to hold brief for the army or police in that area, but I'm just wondering. Yes, because the elections were here and we really didn't hear anything. The votes in Zamfara were good.
It quieted down.
I know, but all of a sudden, it's coming back again. So these bandits waited till after the elections to, is there something that we do not know? And then for the security agencies, could it also be that they have been stretched thin because of the Boko Haram states? And maybe that's why Zamfara has been left in the dark. Could that be also?
The government has not been, look, the Borno State governor at every junction, there was a point in time where he came out on TV and was weeping over the situation in Borno State and the situation with Boko Haram. But I don't think I've seen that kind of vociferousness in the position of the Zamfara State governor. You get what I'm trying to say? But there has been some kind of effort from the government to send in the military, but the home state governor, it is his duty to protect his people first. Just as they say political is local, security of lives and property is local first. He must continue to push. He must be the one to come out to continue to shout. Even at the point where where it seems as if there's helplessness, he must keep on shouting.
I mean, look at let's take Plateau State for example. Remember that when Plateau was facing its own share of, you know, rustlers and herders. Yeah. The governor was always on the news, going to visit the president. For Zamfara, it seemed more like all of a sudden it sprang up on us. We didn't even know that this was how bad it was. Exactly.
For over 2 years that been happening. Even the international community had come out with some report to say that, look, this place is a killing zone. It's becoming one gradually. And you know, when it's happening, just small numbers. We're not even looking at it from the larger picture. Okay, in 2016 it was gold miners. Right? Of recent, it's become the farmers, the rice and maize and tomato farmers. So what we are saying here is that the economic value of that area is being impeded, is being depleted. Yeah. And you know, the governor is not saying enough. The last time that I heard the governor talk about anything in Zamfara State was about the APC primaries that happened in Zamfara State. If you recall, that was the prevailing situation in Zamfara. I have just one more question before we move on to our next issue, which is the beheading of the Nigerian in Saudi Arabia. But talking about, you know, the governor, just the only speech you've heard from him being political. Of recent. Could also that be that we have no value, we place no value? Because there are people who are of that opinion that our leaders place no value on human lives, hence the reason why, you know, these things are not making headlines. Instead, political things are making headlines. I don't want to... Look, first and foremost, the country, the nation that we are faced with is a nation that so much is happening and the population is so massive. But I don't still think that we don't place value on human lives. I also do not think that that governor does not care about his people. I just want to believe that this is a situation that got out of hand so quickly. And I just want to think that this is the point in time where the governor, before he leaves, you know, before he leaves that seat, he needs to put his foot down and say, hey, look, my people are being killed. This state is being turned into a festering point for violence and killing. It needs to stop. Okay. And it's not about chamas. It's not about chamas. You know, at some point in time, even the Borno State issue, for Boko Haram issue, it still makes me laugh. If you call even the Boko Haram issue, at some point in time, they rose up. The men there rose up, you know, and said to themselves, we had a civilian JTF. Yes. The governor needs to show purpose. He needs to show strength. At this point, he needs to show that the lives and property of the people of his state are very, very key. And I'm not saying that he's not showing that, but I'm saying that he needs to increase, he needs to improve. All right, let's move on. Talking about what's happened in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi government recently executed a Nigerian woman for drug trafficking. Now, we did speak earlier on today with Abike Dabiri-Herrera on this issue. Would like to play that for you. And of course, after that, we will be talking live with Ambassador Joe Keshi on how this affects our international relations with Saudi Arabia.
The conflict is tragic, and after formally informing her family, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs now formally released the name, which of course you now know, Mr. Fulani, who was executed a few days ago. But something unfortunate also happened. As we were talking about 20 Nigerians on death row, already killed, appealing to Saudi authorities for clemency, fairness. Just yesterday, another Nigerian was arrested in Jeddah with 1,138 grams of cocaine. I mean, that is very disheartening. And his name is Bahid Shemadi. We should just not tribalize crime. Crime knows no tribe or where you come from. For the few that are giving us a bad image, we continue to call them out. While we will demand fairness and justice, we will continue to appeal to everyone, parents, fathers, brothers, sisters. What are your words up to? This thing involves every one of us. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our missions in Saudi have been doing that. It was just never anything for public knowledge. And they will continue to, at the highest diplomatic level, at the level, you know, not lower than the minister. So it continues to happen. It's been happening and it will continue to happen. But Saudi has always given the same reply. It's the laws of their land. They will not consider country or personality. It applies to every country around the world. They don't want drugs to destroy their own country. In fact, that's the reply that they gave us 3 days ago. While we're still battling at that, a Nigerian goes again and takes in this amount of cocaine within this period. It's disheartening.
Well, that was the senior special advisor to the president on foreign affairs, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, speaking on the issue. Now she's saying every country has its laws, and of course you're supposed to try as much as possible to live within the ambit of that law. But it makes me really wonder. I mean, I remember, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, was it Indonesia, one of those countries, executed so many people, including Nigerians, who traffic drugs, you know, to that country. So it makes me really wonder where and why we allow these things to keep happening to us, our people. Where do these drugs, how do they pass through Nigeria in the first instance? We have all of the scanning machines and all of the searches. Is it that we're not doing the job of checking people before they get on any plane that leaves the shores of this country?
Wherever there is a point to make money in a situation whereby you can have a syndicate sewn in, there will always be a way to bypass it. From the ports to the airport to our roads, there will always be suspicion of collusion between the ordinary man and the agencies, would be the security agencies.
Are you insinuating that we're compromised?
Clearly, because for a man to be able to take cocaine at that amount and successfully leave the airports that are so well secured, so well manned, with scanners everywhere, and human scanners too, who search you, there are almost 3 to 5 search points, then you need to then convince me that we're not compromised. Because that's the point. They are able to take it out of this country into another country. Look, the bigger picture is the fact that it completely reduces my opportunity as a citizen of Nigeria to be able to enjoy this citizenship and the green card I carry in those other countries.
Because the moment you show up in a country,
they begin to look at me with suspicion. They pull me out of line. I'm walking through the airport and any US airport, they pull me out of line just because I'm a Nigerian. They want to scan me, they want to search me, they want to take me through a normal scanner to see if there's something sewn in my stomach because of a few who are corrupt. And guess what? You heard what she said. It will not stop. And that's the problem, because we're just talking about somebody who was beheaded. We've not even finished talking about the few who went to steal and were caught. You know, that one is still trending.
In Dubai.
Yeah. And then we're talking about the ones that they just beheaded. Because look, guess what? Their laws are strong. Just recently, we were talking about the Brunei laws, and they're saying to themselves, these laws are sacrosanct. Their laws are strong. There's no bending in these laws. If they say they're going to behead you, they behead you straight. No form of clemency, no form of leniency. They don't look around that. Our laws do not affect their laws. You must have a very strong case for you to have a diplomatic...
I'm going to come back to you because I want us to talk about our value systems as Nigerians. But first and foremost, we're going to be talking on the phone with Ambassador Joe Keshi. He's on the phone right now. I'm going to be talking with him as a former diplomat to give us that information as to what he thinks. What does he think about this situation? Okay, so let's go on with that conversation with Ambassador Joe Keshi. Well, unfortunately, we're unable to have him on the phone, so we'll just leave that for now. Let's go back to the conversation. Let's talk about our value systems as Nigerians. Unfortunately, the green passport is no longer something you could hold your head high up and, you know, show off whenever you show up at any, you know, international airport. But they say that charity begins at home. What does the home front look like for us as Nigerians? Why do we always make the top list for the negatives? Could it also be that we live in a country where, you know, wealth, as long as it's wealth, is celebrated, we no longer look at where the money comes from. We just have decided that, you know, this is a certain lifestyle that we want to live. Whether you get it through the hard or the fast or the crooked way, as long as you have money, you have money. Or could it also be that, you know, the living situation in this part of the world is terrible, hence the reason why people... I'm not making a case for these people, I'm just wondering.
You're painting scenarios, which is very important. It gets a point in time in this country where we are faced with problems as a nation. Just as every other country is faced with problems, we need to begin to realize that as long as you're in this country and you have not left, you don't have any other place to go, you need to make it better for yourself. Let me give you a case in question, very quick one. We went to a big superstore, and we found out that the payment points were almost empty, maybe just about 4 or 5, maybe out of 10. And we go ahead to ask the manager, why did you guys put more payment points? And the person said, look, you know what? There are jobs there. There's pay for people to make, for people to make, there's money for people to make from salaries. But guess what? Nobody wants to work. So they said they have 1 or 2 people who came in, they're supposed to resume last month, they came to resume last month, and guess what? They left. That brings you back to the point of quick money. That's what is going on now.
But people my question is, what is encouraging the get rich quick syndrome? What is
encouraging it is because just as we all know, some person goes and does one thing that is not good and succeeds and comes to flaunt his wealth. So there's a lot of pressure. Now, aside
whatever happened to teaching our children or society teaching us to be content until we get to the point where we can afford those things?
Even the education system is stretched. At some point in time, we're having history in our schools. We used to do history. There was history.
Of course.
Do we have history anymore nowadays? No, we don't. So you need to look at it from this perspective. When we're growing up, there's some things that we're taught from Sunday school that were imbibed in us as kids. Guess what? When we grow up, those things remain so strongly in us. The situation that, and this is the value system you're talking about. This is the beginning of the value system. When you're growing up, the kind of things that you get taught, the kind of things that you learn, the kind of things that you imbibe as a person. And I'm not talking about the bourgeois or the HNIs. I'm talking about the real people from the wrong itself. You get what I'm trying to say? And that is one of the reasons why things are going really bad as they are. Of course, we're not talking about the economy now. The economy is also another reason. Because there's so little for so many fighting for that little. And that's where the problem is. So for instance, there are jobs out there, people don't want to do the jobs anymore because they know that they can work for 1 month and they're going to pay them 60 to 100,000. And to them, what they have in mind is how fast they want to drive that car.
Wow, where do we go from here is the big question. Well, we have on the line Ambassador Joe Keshi. He is going to be speaking with us on this issue. It's good to have you join us, Ambassador. So quickly, let's just go straight to the point. As someone who's been a diplomat, I mean, what do you think about the situation that Nigerian government is saying they're about to engage the Saudi authorities after the deed itself has already been done?
Let's start by not putting all the blame on the Nigerian government. I can assure you that the very day, I take the risk of saying this, even without all the information, because I know how the foreign ministry, I know how the Nigerian diplomats, and I know how our missions function. I can assure you that the very day that the issue was probably brought up to the embassy, that a Nigerian was arrested for drug trafficking or was taken to court for judgment and the rest of it, that the embassy stepped into it and began to see how they could save the life of the lady. I think the main point we need to focus really, and I believe that in doing that also they possibly got in touch with headquarters, and headquarters did the best they can to put pressure on the Saudi Arabian authorities. But I think the main issue we must not lose here, we must not forget this, is that every country has its own rules and regulations. And if you break those laws,
I'm sure we're not trying to, lay any blame on the government, but for example, there could be some ways or reduce charges. I'm just wondering, could there not have been an agreement of sorts to maybe reduce? I'm not saying we can influence the powers of any country, but couldn't they have come to an agreement with the Saudi government? I'm just wondering.
No. See, you cannot decide, you cannot tell a country because your national was arrested that, give a light this and no. We can plead. But I'm also hearing that the Saudis have been warning us of Nigerians trafficking in drugs, not today, not yesterday, and so on. So it is possible that, look, again, let me make, I think the basic point we must make is this. We need to control, we need to begin to address seriously this issue of drug trafficking and Nigerians taking drugs out of this country or from somewhere else to other countries. You are aware that they only executed one in Saudi Arabia, but in other countries like Thailand, there have been times they executed more than 5.
Because these drugs, you know, I just asked that question just now in the studio, most times emanate from Nigeria. I wonder, how do they even get past these borders? How can we even vouch for our borders and our security agents who are manning these borders?
That's part of what I'm saying, that this is where you now have to have I think we have an agency that is stationed at virtually all our ports. Yes. So if those agencies begin to do their work, these Nigerians will probably be alive because they won't be allowed. They would have been arrested here in Nigeria, and they will not be allowed to take these drugs out of the country. So number one is, yes, we probably failed to persuade Saudi Arabia. You know, I have a different view about the behavior of Saudi Arabia. I agree with you what you said about maybe Saudi Arabia should have done this and that. Yes, in some ways. Because look at it from this point of view. Look at the thousands of Nigerians that go on pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia annually. They contribute substantial amount of money into the economy of Saudi Arabia. We have a very good relationship with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia should have at least have the courtesy and the decency of showing some mercy based on appeal from the Nigerian government. Now that should also show you that that on these issues, you know, when something happens in Israel, and you know, some Muslim guys in Kanu and Kaduna begin to kill Christians, why are they not protesting now? Again, it shows you that some of these countries do not play, you know, sentimental on religion, that they play by the rules of their own country, and we should learn this. So the first thing we need to do is to put our own house in order. We should actually question the drug authorities. How are these drugs taken out of the country?
Finally, before I let you go, Ambassador, I mean, you talked about foreign relations, you know, with not just with Saudi Arabia now. I just want to talk about our foreign relations with other countries. How healthy is it? I mean, because it's one thing to say that you have a healthy relationship with a country, and it's another thing to really, truly, in realistic terms, have a healthy relationship. So, I mean, do we have a great relationship with Saudi authorities and any other country?
I like your question, and I must credit you for that question. You're sounding more like a lawyer. But let me put this across to you. We have very good relationship with quite a number of countries across the world. Okay, but the good relationship we have with a number of countries across the world does not give us the license to encourage our people to break the laws of those countries. I hope you get that clear. The good relationship we have with a number of countries across the world does not give our people, does not give Nigeria the license to break the laws. If you are going to Saudi Arabia to pray to God for pilgrimage, please focus on your pilgrim journey and not on going to do business or going to sell drugs and things like that. And you know, this is a country that is so scared. I mean, people need to understand what's going on in Saudi Arabia. You know, if they could kill their own citizens like they killed the Washington journalist Khashoggi, be certain that they will not, you know, blink an eye in killing those who want to bring drugs into Saudi Arabia, because they are afraid of having drug problems like they are now having all over the middle, that part of the world, in the Middle East, you know. So we need to understand this, that yes, it's unfortunate it has happened, but the starting place is not to put all the blame on Saudi Arabia, who want to uphold their law. It's also to be...
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador Joe Keshi, for speaking with us. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but we want to appreciate you for speaking with us. Back to you quickly, because we're rounding up. We need to go. He's literally just summed it all up. Because we have great relations with other countries doesn't mean that if our people commit a crime in those countries, we should be begging for them. Because there are people who have said, oh, look at America. I mean, if it was America, they would actually have that person come back to their country to be tried. But does that always have to be the case, especially for Nigerians who always end up on the wrong side of the law?
First and foremost, we must not, why must we even be the ones to let it happen in the first place? First and foremost, the people who are carrying these drugs, they need to understand that the dangers of being caught far outweighs the luxury and enjoyment, the fleeting luxury and enjoyment of you succeeding, right? Secondly, the security agencies who are manning the airports and the various outpoints in this country need to suck it. They need to really get their acts together, because it is actually time for these things not to stop happening. Thirdly, look, quite frankly, the sovereignty of every country is in their hands. Every country is sovereign, and they have laws that are of course governing them. You do not expect, except when you're going to be pleading with them, you don't expect them to subvert their laws because there has been somebody who has come in there to mess it up. So they understand that drugs are a killer. They understand the dangers of these drugs, and they've made it a law, a criminal law, and they made it a penal law that has to be death. So if we understand that death is the penal law for this case, for this particular crime, then we shouldn't. Then don't do it. We shouldn't make the move.
Thank you very much, Ihechukwu Ibeji, a political analyst. Thank you for speaking with us. Unfortunately, we do not have too much time, but well, that's it for the show for today. Unfortunately, I cannot wrap things up with my take, but I will do that next time. My name is Mariana Kun, and it's been Plus Politics.